First thing is to put this into cleaning mode. So display, screen clean. All right, let's get underneath here and pop this panel off. All right, just kind of push it in there is actually the best way to do it. Then pry it. All right, so this is a temperature sensor, and we can just unplug that for now. Next is to get these two 10mm bolts out. You can use this wrench that they provide. However, decided to try it out, and you know, there's these two plastic tabs in the way, which makes me a little bit nervous, because if this wrench slips, it's going to jam into this clip and potentially break it. And these wrenches are not the highest quality, so there's not like a super tight fit. So while it could, yeah, it's a little bit loose. The wrench is, you know, it's just not a high quality wrench. So while I'm sure it could be used, could be done, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get some better tools out here. And you notice I put a towel down here now also. Okay, not so bad. Okay, after those two bolts are removed down there, it's just a matter now of pulling this screen out, and you kind of rock it back and forth, but you got to be careful because it is still attached back there with another cable, so you don't want to jerk the screen off and put that cable under any kind of stress. Like that. Don't do that. Right, and then this is why I put this towel down here, is because you've got to set the screen down on something preferably soft. And down here, these two screws here, which are the torque screws. So let's get the torques. Okay, try not to lose these screws. This is like a little safety clip thing. You gotta push on that, separate it, kind of pull it up. Alright, that's not bad. Push on this while I separated it and then just pulled it up. So let's get this out of the way. Okay, now time to unplug it. So there is a little tab in there to press. So this may be the most difficult part, because you got to push that tab in at the same time, pull it out, and it doesn't want to come out that easy. That sucker does not want to come out easy at all. Ah, got it. Then we just get rid of this guy, because we are replacing it. Now we can put our new swivel mount in. It goes back in this location using the original bolts. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit, I think. Alright, in trying to move this tilt in order to get at these screws a little bit better, these bolts a little bit better, I realized that this is going to be way too tight for the screen. You know, you don't want it super loose, but at the same time, I don't want to have to torque on the screen to get it to move, and that is way too tight. So you get your monster new Allen wrench in here, the one tool that you definitely are going to be using from these guys. Okay, to loosen this, you actually go that way. Just give it a little bit of a turn there. See how it goes. Okay. Let's feels better, but still too tight. I'll give it another little turn. I'm gonna give it a little bit more. Okay, that feels pretty good. And the reason you want to do this now is because we're going to be putting the plastic piece on next. You won't have access to this Allen bolt. I mean, you'd have to take a few parts off just to get to it, but this feels pretty good. It's still pretty stiff, but should be real easy to move with the screen without putting too much pressure on the screen. Okay, next we put this plastic cover on, and you can see the tabs on the top, tabs on the bottom. All these have to be clipped in. It's a little bit of a puzzle getting that on there, but not too bad. So I'm going to push it down there, and then this is why they supply this piece here. If I get this on the camera, see that gap? That happens on some cars. I've got a 2018. And I've got the gap. So I'm going to take it out and put this in there, and it should cover that gap. Okay, so this little gap fixer is a bit of a pain. So looks like it just sets right down there, and you got to get it down there kind of as far as possible. Get it lined up. Get the top going first to get it over that spacer, and then make sure you got the bottom of the of these three brackets in there. Now you can see it's going to be a challenge to get this underneath there without damaging the dash. Now luckily this is kind of behind the screen. And actually I do have some carbon fiber I plan on doing here, so if I do any real damage I can just kind of cover it up. But I will be using the supplied pry bar to hopefully move this out of the way as much as possible so I'm not damaging my dash. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I'm questioning whether I want to put this thing on there, because also when you pry this, you leave little pry marks on the dash too. So, I don't know. I'm going to try and put this on just to kind of do it, just to see what happens. Alright, that one's in, but yeah, you can see it's a little bit of an indentation there now. That one going. And, okay. Gotta make sure you get this bottom lined up to be able to push that down. Okay, and now I don't know. I'm still seeing a gap there. I mean, is it really any better with that piece of plastic in there? I'm gonna say no, it's not. Let's see if I can push it up from. Ah, there we go. So you really got to kind of mess with this thing. You really got to kind of mess and push these tabs in, push this up from the underside. Honestly, I'm not sure I even needed that little plastic piece. And again, this is, you know, this is behind the screen. So who and what are you actually going to be looking at that pretty much never. Okay, done. All right, let's get back to the temperature sensor. I'm going to take this off from here. T15. And these are different for the different cars. So whether you have a Model Y, Model 3, and what year it is, again, mine's a 2018. And you can see this just has a hole in it. Whereas the newer models have a little fan built into this, and this is vented. And this comes off a little bit differently for those cars. You have to like push something in and give it a little twist. But yeah, that comes off. Got this hole here, so we take the one with just the one hole and not all the vents. You know what's interesting here is, see these washers? You don't see this in a car manufacturer. You know, they just use smaller screws. Here they use these size screws, but they had to use washers because it would have gone into the that factory piece too far. I do like these screws, the factory ones, better than these, in that, you know, this is made to kind of screw into plastic easier. So for now, I'm just going to plug this back in and set it aside. All right, next we get the screen on. First, feed the wire through here, and then we have to reconnect this guy. Okay, that clipped in there nicely. Don't forget your little safety clip. Alright, that clipped in there nicely. It's going to go underneath, so that doesn't have to feed through. So then this goes on here. Then we reuse our little Torx screws. Alright, next we slide the screen back on. Get the right angle, and it goes back in. Okay, it should just sit there, and so you realize my screen came back on, but it's not responsive, so we'll just do a soft reset and we'll be able to fix that. But if yours comes back on and it's touchable, just put it back into cleaning mode. So now, using these Allen bolts that they gave us, and try to line this up. Alright, so you can see the angle that this thing is on. It's not going to go straight in. The mount is on a, you know, a bigger angle than you think. So if you see the Allen wrench here, you see how it goes in. I kept trying to put it in more like this, and yeah, mistake. Don't cross thread it. And last thing we do is get this temperature sensor back in there.